Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Uranus Happen Show. Today is June 1st at 7 p.m. on a Wednesday night. I'm Ernesto. I'm your host, and I'm here with my lovely co-host, Veretta. Are you there with me? Can you hear me?
I can.
Perfect. All right. So it's the first of the month, and um, in a lot of like Western astrology circles, they always like to do like these monthly forecasts and what's coming up down the turnpike based on the transits and all of that information. It doesn't really tell you a whole
Hmm.
lot for the most part, but what I'm doing here is um, I have the chart set up because one of the things that's been going on that you really kind of can't look away from is all of the shootings that are happening, and it's becoming almost problematic. So we're going to take a look at that just to see what is it in the sky that's creating this type of an energy, and it's going to deal with all of the all of the outer planets, like our hypotheticals that take so long to orbit around the sun. They're doing some kind of dance right now, and we'll get into that in a moment. But like otherwise, we just in Uranian astrology, what we do is the chart you're seeing on the screen. We just kind of look at the midpoints of what's happening in this chart, and that tells us the general energies. Again, ignoring all of that faster moving stuff because that moves so quickly, and that's not going to have. It'll have an impact, but it'll be a very short lived influence. So, Veretta, do you have anything to add? Like as far as the energies that we're going to be bringing in this month in June.
Yeah, there's a lot. Well, as well as the unsettled, there's a lot of cleansing energies, and I would go out on a limb to say a lot of what we've been experiencing has to do with bringing the cleansing to light, the need for cleansing to light, and the feeling is that as well as having to purge when you cleanse, there'll be big time revamping of what we do. And this month's energy is definitely unsettled for me when I look forward, knowing that when things change, it isn't always what we want it to be, and initially it can actually seem pretty chaotic, but there's a point to it, and we can weather through the original chaos. We get through to the place where we're clean, and whether we've started over in this cleaning or we're just living refreshed, it'll be better in the long run. But it doesn't, it's very unsettling. And the things that will come to light this month are the truth. And always, people sometimes don't want to hear the truth. So there's definitely some change happening this month.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned all of that. This is why I love having you on the show with me, because we both kind of work off of each other and confirming everything that's happening in the world. And like something that's obvious from this chart right here is if you look at, let's say this, let me draw a line here. The chart is saying that where was that? Pluto and Admetos. So these that where that blue line is at, that's something that's out in the world affecting everybody right now. And keep in mind, those planets are very slow moving, and Metos takes over 540 years to orbit the sun. So it's super generational. And it's going to be having a major effect on people for a long time. So that's the first thing that we notice. And then the other thing I'm going to add, this is a black line here. Is this is going to have to do with Uranus Poseidon. I'm sorry, let me put that back. Wrong thing. Got it. Okay, so Uranus Poseidon. Now we have that. Now we're going to switch gears for a minute and take a look at this over here. And if we make that go away, great. So if we look at like Pluto Admetos, the definition of that axis point or that half sum in the chart, then what we see is the foundation going into depth, returning to basic origin, basic changes, deeply rooted growth, development, roots, radical changes, reaching change from the bottom up, from raw material to finished products, from the beginning to end, or the beginning of the end. So that's something that's happening out in the world right now with that blue line that we just saw. And then it's further supported, as you mentioned, like with the truth, the Uranus Poseidon, illumination, light, enlightenment, elucidation, clarification, clearing, insight, even-handed, revelation, let there be light, mentally alert, signs of life, lively or alive, mental tension, truth. There it is. The light bearer, phosphorus, propaganda, moving pictures, television, even handed. So, keep in mind that because all of that is so slow, the problem is that, we're going to have that influence for quite some time. But, specifically when we look at this chart and sort of what's happening out in the world, that everybody is being affected by this. So these are major themes that we're going through. And to speak to the shootings, let's take a look at this one over here. And I have it set up already. So Uranus, Hades, Apollon, many are vile, mass murder, slaughter, and massacre. To suffer vile acts with many. So, and then others, it says, historical science, a chronicle of the past events, astrology, which is sold at fairs in Diamond Quarter magazine, pseudoscience. So all of your Western astrologers, they're going to be coming up through the woodwork this coming, week or so. Under this influence, where everybody's going to be wanting to talk about, what is it that's happening with, these shootings. And then they're going to say, well, like Mars and Pluto are doing all this blah, 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 and whatever sign in house. And it's just a lot of nonsense, right? So that's what that's all about. So that's going to be a major theme that we'll have. But, the slaughter and the massacre is really the main thing that we're looking for. So if we go back to our chart here and we look at the midpoint of Uranus, Hades, which is an interesting one. This is like sudden death, sudden mean acts, also deals with Uranian astrology, believe it or not. So, there is a deep part of, like destiny, fate, and all of this. If we look at, where was that? Yeah, Uranus, Hades. There it is. Okay, so now let me clear this for a second. Got it. Now your display should show what you need to see. We have, let's see here. We have Hades in that black circle, Uranus, and then on these dots, everything that's on the dot, these are all going to be affecting us out in the world, but specifically the stuff that's on the arrows is going to have much more of an impact. It's going to be more significant when we're talking about a transit chart. So we can see that we have Pluto, or we have Mars up here, we have Pluto, and then that sun is going to come over here in like another day or so. But the other thing that we're looking at on this dot here is this Apollon. So this is kind of what is, let me redraw this. So we have Hades, Uranus, and then on this dot, Apollon. So the Apollon on the dot is what fulfills the formula of Uranus Hades. So Apollon is applying to this midpoint of Uranus Hades. So that midpoint of, mass slaughter of many, that's going to be a theme that we're dealing with out in the world. And keep in mind, all three of these planets are very slow moving. Hades is about 1 degree per year. Apollon is nearly 600 years around the sun. Uranus is 84 years around the sun. So, over the course of the next maybe even few months, we're really just going to be plagued with these issues having to deal with mass shootings. I think there was another one today. It seems almost like every single day this week. The unfortunate thing, though, is based on what we can see in the transiting chart, is you have Pluto and you have Mars and you also have Neptune. And then let me see here, and Admetos. So those pink circles, the Pluto Mars, this is going to speak to changes and actions. So that's kind of where, we're going to want to see some new legislation or some new rules, new ways that we do things when it comes to gun control and gun laws. The unfortunate thing, though, is that you have Neptune Admetos, which is a wasted energy. So nothing will come of it. It's just going to be, major headlines that we're going to keep on seeing. We're going to have to go through some, more terrible things in order for us to really incite the change that we're looking for. But at the bare minimum, what we can say is that we are having the dialogue about this, where we're at a point in society where we've reached and said, you know what, we really do have to address these problems that we've been ignoring for so long. So that's been these are, the major trends that or themes that are happening out in the world, and the energies of that. So to speak energetically about what all of this refers to, like our narrative here on the show is, if you do the work, you can usually get what you're looking for. If you put in the elbow grease to make that happen, and that still remains true. But Neptune Admetos, that's a midpoint of mediumship. Uranus, Hades is a point of Uranian astrology, especially with the Apollon. So and the Mars speaks to the work, and the Pluto is the change. So if we are spiritual beings and focus on all of these things, these mystical, yeah, well, just for lack of a better term, these mystic conversations that we've been putting off for so long, by doing that work, and that's really the catalyst that we're looking for to make all of this come true. Do you agree with that, Beretta?
Yeah, and that's where the cleansing would come in. We need to wipe away the misnomers and the untruths to actually get to the bottom of what's happening, to be able to evolve past it.
Right. Yeah. So and this is all super slow moving stuff. That Mars does move a little bit faster. So that's going to be kind of zipping all around this circle over the course of the next year or so. But as of like today, when we're talking about energies that we're bringing into the month of June, then Mars, Pluto, if you do the work, you can decide to change. But the work that we're discussing is going to be spiritual in nature.
Right, and long coming.
Right. Yeah. And we were talking about that one axis point, Pluto Admetos, which is, far reaching change, the beginning of the end. This is where if you've started a new project, or if you're coming to the conclusion of a project, for example, last night I submitted a TV pilot that I wrote into a screenwriting competition. I've been working on screenwriting as a craft for the past 8 years, and believe me, it's very challenging and difficult, but it's incredibly rewarding when it's done well. So I submitted like this perfect Jenga tower that had everything in place the way that it's supposed to be. Nothing could be done better. It was truly a masterpiece. Like, there is nothing that can be done, beyond what I already submitted. And so the fact that it took 8 years, that's the end of a long term project for me. So we'll see where this goes, and that Uranus Neptune speaks to the television piece that showed in that axis point that I showed you earlier. So these are the big things that are happening right now, and yeah. So over the course of the next few days, we're gonna have more stuff with like the gun control, because remember that this sun here, this sun right here in green, this is going to be moving at the rate of about 1 degree per day, we'll say, more or less. So and if these tick marks are about half a degree, then every 2 tick marks, then that sun is going to be moving up. When it hits that arrow, then we're going to have some major issues, with the gun violence and all of that. But again, I don't think anything is going to come from it, just because of the mass corruption that's out in world governments right now.
Right. Yeah. People with deep pockets are the ones in charge. At this point, there has to be less control from the money and more control from the masses.
Right. Yeah. So when we reach that point where we have private citizen militias who start going after our elected officials, then that's when we're actually going to see the change that we're looking for. Because when their livelihoods are threatened, then it actually changes.
Well, and it's, I wouldn't even condone or compensate for people going after elected officials, but more so in just being able to protect themselves. And this, I think, is where we'll see the biggest shift. People are going to let government and federal know that they're kind of done being ruled by those that don't serve our best interest.
Right. Yeah.
We're definitely not protected.
No, definitely not. And it's sad to say this, but nearly everybody should have a handgun in their house just in case. I know a lot of us probably won't do that. Yeah, according to a physical therapist I had a long time ago, I am much better at swinging a golf club than I am a baseball bat. So I learned that, and I thought that was interesting.
Well, hey, whatever it takes, I wouldn't even say, I would say weapon if it's most effective, but if that's not what you have and you're really just opposed to it, I would say any form of protection is what's appropriate at this point.
That's for sure. And remember that magic is a form of protection, but it's not going to protect your physical body most of the time.
No.
Yeah, so
love is your best power. So
for sure. Now I'm just taking a look at what's all out in this chart. See, because these are major themes that we're all dealing with right now. Here we go. Where is that?
Mm-hmm.
No, no, this one. No, that. Here we go. Okay. Actually, no. I see that we have Brian here on the line with us. We're gonna catch up with you right now. Let me see here. Brian, hey, are you on the line with us?
Hey, how you doing today?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing better now. But I was calling because I recently found out that I was laid off from my job after being told by my boss repeatedly that my job was secure or whatnot. We didn't have the best professional relationship. Not saying we didn't get along. We just didn't see eye to eye, philosophy wise. And I've just been kind of struggling with the boss because the determination basically happened when I came back from vacation for graduating my PhD. And so I'm just trying to see, when do you see the energy shifting so I could just usher in a new job or a new career? 'Cause
Sure.
I'm really going through right now.
Let me take a look at that one for you. But just since we're talking about the career and that concerns the location, where are you living these days? Are you still in Detroit?
No, I'm in Chicago.
You're in Chicago. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Let me add that location in here. And so your question is just sort of like, where is your career going? Are you going to have any changes in that regard, or when?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Beretta, what do you have? Let me take a look at this.
Okay. Well, Brian, so one of the things that I pick up right away is you got a little bit of healing to do. There's a little bit of animosity you're hanging on to, justified. However, that can hold you up just a little bit from moving forward. This is what you're probably your best bet in creating a new bubble around you will result in, if you can apply, just letting go of knowing that this guy did not serve your best interest. That's all on you. And actually being let go is going to benefit you in the long run. I can see about
Okay.
3 to 4 weeks of just kind of laying low or doing what you've been doing and getting by. After the 3 to 4 week mark, you're going to be really looking at something that you're going to get into. However, it feels to me like it may take a little while for that to happen. So I don't know if it would require a lengthy background check or, a move or something that's going to require some effort and more time on your part. But give yourself about 3 to 4 weeks. That'll get you in that window. And in a couple more weeks, you'll have a pretty good idea about where you're going to go. And really kick that off with knowing that everything, Brian, happens for a reason. And even something like getting let go can be of benefit, and in this case it is. And look forward to moving forward. Don't hold yourself back thinking, that guy was a jerk, because that may be the truth, but he did you a favor. See it in that light, okay?
Okay. Thank you so much.
And so can you give him a time frame?
Yeah, let me take a look. So there is a specific formula, ascendant Chronos node, which refers to a new job. But I just asked your chart the general question of what does like your career look like right now. And we'll get, and I'll run that calculation here in a moment, just to kind of give you a sense of how this works here in Uranian astrology. But what I can tell right now, when we ask Meridian Mars, which concerns your career, let me just show this to you. All right, not this one. Okay, so and we'll close that for now. Okay, so if we look at Meridian Mars, this is self-will energy, the urge for action, one's own action, making arrangements, or giving orders to others, to orchestrate events, agitated mind, psychologically or psychically active, energy pulling oneself together. So this deals with career. So this is sort of like what I do for a living. Now, when we go back to your chart to take a look at this, that green arrow there, if you're watching our live cast on my YouTube channel, the green arrow refers to where you are right now, the double half sum of your meridian Mars midpoint of what is it that I'm doing out with work out in the world today. And that comes to your solar arc sun, which is that blue circle over that Aries symbol there. That's, the cardinal axis is out in the world, 0 degrees, but it's also your body, as you've aged physically in relation to the rotation on the Earth's axis. So when we look at that, we can see that, your career is definitely out in the world. So this is, it's a genesis point. It's one of those things that we do want to keep an eye on, that we know that there will be some changes there. It's further supported by the fact that here in the second ring of information, you have this pink Pluto. So that's, the actual change that you're looking for. And that blue dot is your natal midpoint of, of meridian Mars. So that this Pluto here in your natal ring, this is about a degree away. So, this is also going to have some influence here. We do look for triple patterns, but, when we're kind of dissecting things to see what we can find off the top here quickly, the fact that you have a double Pluto that's happening here, we know then that, that this is going to be a major theme that's going to be affecting you pretty soon here, that you are going to have some changes here with the career. Now, this is just kind of the quick way that we do things to walk you through the process of that other formula that I had. Let me see here. So this is ascendant Chronos node is the formula that we want. Let me clear that. Okay. So ascendant Chronos is going to be here, and that's at 742. And then we take a look in the second ring, ascendant Chronos. Well, actually, let me make a mark here so I don't lose sight of that, because it does help. We'll add this. Got it. There. Okay, ascendant Chronos in the second ring is here. And this is 5044. No, so that's 1826. So that's 826. Yeah, 826 and 50. Okay, so 3284 is where we come up. So ascendant, ascendant Chronos. Got it. And then there's that one. So this is at 5044. Here. And then we'll do... Okay, and then this would be about the midpoint of that. So, got it. Let me mark this. Cool. No, I don't want to do that. Where did my arrow go? Oh, okay. Okay, so we're like right there. So it's basically the same. So 5044. So, and now we want to line up the node with this. That's the other piece of information that we need to know. So we have here in this black circle, this node here in the transits in that third ring. And that makes contact with that blue line. If you extend that blue line out, it does make contact with the node there. That's what we're looking for. That's one of the conditions that satisfies a triple pattern. And then we see this node here in the second ring, and then this one here in the first ring. Got it. Now, if we move this dial to like the midpoint of this, like there, then those, yeah, I agree. Are you applying for work right now?
Yes.
You are. Okay, so you're going to have some nice things that are going to happen with that. When this sun out here in the black one, or in the third ring, in that black circle that I just added, when that sun comes up to this arrow over here, then this is going to be a time, when I would expect some things to change, especially when that sun comes right in between this Mars and this Kronos and your natal ring of information. Like that, when this approaches right in between there, then that's going to be when you're going to have some contact and some new stuff is going to come. Now if we're looking specifically at how that job or career endeavor would work out for you, then let me see here. I do think it's going to be a job that you are going to like because you have you have a double Venus, and then the transiting Jupiter is going to bring like a lot of joy and like happiness, and it's just going to be a great job. Further supported by the fact that you've got some Mars Pluto, so changes to work over here down in the second and third rings. But yeah, I do think that you are going to have some career changes, and it's imminent. Like this is going to be within the next month. So like we were saying at the beginning of the show, like the narrative on this program is always if you do the work, there's like a 95% chance you're going to get what you're going after. And
Hmm.
this is again, where this is that scenario where go out and apply for jobs that you actually want. Not the ones where I'm being a corporate slave and I'm going to have to sue somebody because I'm being treated so badly. Avoid those positions. Like I think that you're getting a lot closer towards the work and job it is that you do want to be a part of, so that you don't have to continue to take these crappy ones that it's like, well, I'm just doing this so I can have a roof over my head, but I don't actually like it. Is this making sense to you?
Hmm. Absolutely, completely.
Okay, all right, great. So is there anything else with that one?
Uh, no, just that really came called to get a timeline, which it coincides with my expectations. So I think I'm in good shape there.
And then we were also
Um,
talking,
I don't-
Brian. Don't forget that on the last show, we talked about like sometime around like I think it was June 3rd that you're going to be having some nice financial windfalls and some good luck with some money. So and that could also just be the new job as well. So like that's on Friday. That's at the end of the week. And that influence, assuming that your birth time is correct, that'll be there for about a week or so. So go out and
per-
burn a little money. Buy a scratch ticket. Put $20 on a slot machine, just see what happens. And I feel that things are going to be changing for you, and all of the gloom and doom and feeling so suppressed and just sort of like beat down by society, that's coming to an end finally for you.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you very much again.
Well, it was a pleasure to have you on the show as always. Remember to go out to my website and leave us a review that does get you into the raffle for the free Spirit Circle ticket.
Okay.
All right,
And
take care and
blessings,
good night.
Brian.
Until next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Uh-huh.
Okay, and we have Tim here on the line. It's been a while. I think we were going to connect with him before from area code 917. Hi, Tim. You're on the Uranus Happen Show. Are you there with us?
Oh, yes, I am. Thanks for taking my call.
Okay, great. Now, I just want to check something real quick. I don't have your birth data, so can I get that again?
Oh, sure. May 30th, 1974.
I'm sorry. What was the month and day?
May 30th, 1974.
Oh, well, happy birthday. And what time were you born?
4:45 p.m.
Okay, and where were you born?
Brooklyn, New York.
Okay. Okay. All right. And do you have a general? Would you just like a general check-in reading? Hi, how are you? Or do you have a specific question about a general issue?
I guess it's a specific question. I have a phone call next week about a new opportunity, sort of a partnership. I think with an organization, it could potentially change the trajectory of my life right now. I don't really know much about it as far as specifications. So, do you think does anything you can tell me if it's a good fit or if it's going to work out?
Sure. What date are you going to be having this conversation?
I'm going to be having it Monday, which is
The
the
5th. No, the 6th. All right. Let me put that in here. Okay. All right, Veretta.
All
Now,
right.
go
So
ahead.
Yeah. What I want to start by saying is go in there with an open mind. Um, this you may not be even after the conversation sure it's a good fit, but I feel like there is an opportunity, or there'll be a point to having some time involved with this. I don't know that it's going to be a permanent situation. So again, go in with an open mind, and don't commit to anything as in regard to opportunity unless you know all the facts. If there's anything that is outstanding, loopholes that may take place, or if, then don't commit to anything until you have all of those areas covered. I'm not seeing it as a negative thing. I'm just not seeing it as something that you may feel or deem a necessity, or when you look back after the fact, that there was even a point to it. However, you got to remember everything's got a point to it. But go in with an open mind. Don't have any expectations. So you have none at this point, like you said, but don't, even by Monday, go in with any expectation like this is going to be it, and you're going to succeed, you're going to benefit, you're going to never do anything again. Don't go in there with that mindset.
Oh, definitely.
There's multiple people also. There's multiple people involved in determining in the long run how you will see through this. And those are the people, when you go in, you want to meet everybody that's involved, first of all. Like I said, if there's anything missing in this opportunity that you presented on Monday, you got to have all those bases covered. So be sure that if any of these people that would be an intricate part of this is missing, you want to meet them before you ever decide. Okay?
Okay.
Ernesto, can you give him a little bit more on this?
Sure. I'm just taking a look here. I'm asking a question about a conversation because I think that's really like the question that we're asking here is, what will come of this, if anything? That's the big thing that we want to know, right? Would you agree with that, Tim?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, yeah. So we're gonna take a look at that one here now. Got it. Okay, so the Uranus are in a triple pattern to themselves. Now, this can happen a couple of ways when we look for that signature in a chart. If you notice that all three of those squares, that they are one dot away from the nearest arrow, that is going to, definitely, that's its own configuration right there. So we do know then that you will have the conversation with them. That was the big thing that I was really sort of looking for is this even going to happen, or is this just going to kind of go away? I do think it is pleasant, but I think that the connection will eventually just sort of dissolve. I don't think anything will come of it. So, I mean, I think kind of where you're at right now, Tim, is that, like everything's rosy, everything's perfect. And that's further supported by the fact that we have this Neptune over here in the transits and also a Venus in the transits. They're both happening on the day of a question about you having a conversation with somebody. So this is, the rose-colored glasses feelings, everything's perfect, everything's wonderful. But then, like once that fog of, fantasy sort of goes away and you realize that the person that you went home with from the bar really isn't, this really hot, person or whatever it was. It was just the fact that it was dark and you couldn't see any better. Once the light of day, shown itself onto that situation, you saw things so much more differently and you really realized, that really probably wasn't the best choice. So I think that the conversation that you're going to have, it's going to give you some ideas, if anything else, but I don't think it's going to be like this, big sweeping partnership and, all of these wonderful things that that you're really sort of hoping for. I just don't think that time is quite yet.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the only other thing I just want to mention to you is, when we're dealing with, Venus, Neptune types of energies, which is, like that rose-colored glasses feelings, that you want to be careful that, you go into it with a set of realistic expectations and say to yourself, well, I can only do so much. And, they can only do so much. And this is what I want to happen. And this is realistic for me. So if I don't get everything on my wish checklist here, these are the things that I can live with. Or if I'm being asked to do something, these are the boundaries that I have to set for myself, and I won't budge on these. I have to make sure that I have these pieces come true in order for me to be happy and safe and sane in this situation. So that would be the thing that I would suggest to you is setting boundaries. That's going to be another thing. If they do approach you about doing something, as far as like work or business, money, any of that type of enterprise, just be sure that, your bottom line is very clear and that they know that, because believe me when I say that, there's a thing about corporate slavery out in the world right now. So we definitely want to try to do everything we can to avoid turning ourselves into pawns.
Definitely.
Now, do you have a follow-up question about that? Like, what am I going to do instead? Or
Sure. That's definitely my next question. I'm looking for something new.
now, are you looking for work specifically?
Yeah, definitely.
So something that'll generate income, not just like a hobby, like income, money. Sure, yeah. Let me take a look at that, Veretta. Oh no, I guess Tim just dropped.
So,
We just lost him.
oh, all right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, great. Got it. So, hey everybody, it looks like that's the end of our call queue for tonight. It's a little bit of a shorter format. We were just on for an hour, and I know Beretta's dealing with some stuff in the background, and I am too. I'm also still working on my PhD, by the way, for anybody who's not aware, so I can actually become a therapist and do this legit full time. So I
Yes.
kind of got to get back to hitting the books. I know that schooling is just, I'm going to a non secular school right now, and it's a very different experience than what I ever could have asked for. And I'm actually really loving it because it's not about the math and the history and the science and, doing everything so stale and academic. It's about, actually digging deep inside of yourself and looking at things holistically. You don't learn that in like traditional university. So it's a nice change of pace to be able to, approach work and schooling in that sense. And especially, with doing something like astrology, like I'm doing here, then I can use a lot of what I'm learning through my schooling and applying that towards counseling others and the manifestation of the work itself.
Yeah, and that particular college that you're attending is actually very accredited in the manner of, really pertaining to that spiritual, um, inclusive manner of understanding that we can help ourselves to the degree of looking in and finding that whatever we call our guide or God or spirit, and you get so much more out of these type of courses. And it goes beyond theological. It like I said, goes into that universal praise of understanding that there is more than what we see, and it's a matter of learning how to know that it exists, and then how to utilize it, how to service it. And by the time you're done with your PhD, Ernesto, you're going to be in a position of really having a pretty good idea overall, where you stand at any given moment, even though you have to live in this world with both feet on the ground and take every day, one day at a time, and learn to live it as well as help others. I enjoyed my coursework when I obtained my PhD, and I enjoyed it the most when I found the things that I intuitively had been given were backed up by these study courses. And then I could say, well, yes, not only did I receive it, I know it as well. And it just really enlightened me to a lot more understanding about the psyche, the psychological value of what we go through. And of course, then also a lot of why things happen the way they do, which doesn't make life perfect or, rosy, but it does make it a little bit better when we can remember that the things we go through have a reason, and how to look at it, how to utilize it, and how to draw support from spirit and universe and everything else astrology-wise tools that we can utilize to help the whys seem a little bit softer.
Well,
That makes
and
sense?
and I think that's, the big thing that I'm really enjoying about, my studies is that um it's about it's experiential in the sense that you get to actually like integrate all of this knowledge from things that have happened in the past, and you say, oh, so that's why that happened to me, and that's why I took this course of
Uh-huh.
action. Like, you start to see things so much more
Exactly.
holistically instead of that whole black and white perspective where, like in this particular type of
Exactly.
therapy, like we treat it this way, and this is really, what you were doing. No, we don't do that. It's like everything tells a story and all of the pieces fall where they may. um but, like
Correct.
it's kind of like finding the inner peace within that entire process.
Right. Finding the inner peace inside the storm is exactly it, and not taking it personal. Not getting down on self or feeling sorry or giving up because well, it's just too hard. No, no, it's not. There's a reason for it. You chose it. You just have to figure out how to carry on.
Yeah, and like when you come to that realization that um so many of those questionable choices that you made in like in earlier parts of life, that they were really just sort of, like entrenched ignorance that's the result of I am afraid of being alone, or I just fear in general. And
Yeah.
becoming cognizant of that behavior pattern and saying, okay, so I may feel, I may like I suffered terribly from the fear of missing out. It's probably, I would say, one of the biggest things that I deal with, and it's terrible, especially when it comes to things like gaming, because I play games where they have these special limited time offerings, and if you don't spend money right now, then you're not going to get these brand new toys that the developer just made, and we don't know when they're coming back, but
Yeah.
you're really going to need them right now. So I keep opening up my wallet, and I've just started to make peace with the fact that there's peace in, not in missing out, and there is peace in the unknown, like, and I'm okay with that. I'll just take it one day at a time. Like, I just discovered recently that watching they have on YouTube these videos that, last for 18 hours or whatever, of like underwater sea life, and it's, set to like
Oh,
relaxing
wow.
music. I love watching stuff like that. That's something that I've just started getting in the habit of, like even 10 minutes a day, just pull myself out of the chaos that's in my mind and just let me relax and just, feel calm. That's a relatively new
Yeah.
experience for me, and that's hard for a lot of people to do, especially in American society where everything moves so unbelievably fast and it has to be right now. So
Right now.
there really is a lot of value to this whole meditation piece that people talk about. I guess I've sort of avoided it for so long, or tried to call it something else, so that way it would not seem so, I don't know, like new agey, or like woo woo, or
Yeah.
whatever term that you want to use. But
Right. Yeah.
it's just sort of like it's one of those things that we can all benefit from, and not like in a stigmatized or a negative way. It's just um, something that a lot of us have to be introduced to, how to do something like that.
Right, exactly. And the benefits are immeasurable in the fact that there's so much that can come just from, a few minutes of meditation. You can't believe the refreshing, the encouraged, the whatever the opportunity is that meditation will bring. It's just so immeasurable. Once you start to experience it, you're hooked, and you get into that routine of understanding that any calm can come from getting into that meditative state. And people have to understand that it does not mean you sit in a lotus position with your fingers in the O and your mouth going for 8 hours trying to meditate. That's not, what you need to bring relief when situations are happening. So, yeah, meditation is a great thing. We just have to learn that where we come from is, like you said, got to have it right now, right now, right now. And meditation means, yes, you have to calm your mind. And no, your mind does not control you. You control it. It's a matter of priority and choice. If you want it to calm down, learn how to do it, you will. And once you do it, and the more you do it, the easier it will come. And then it's almost automatic. You can go from, oh my God, I'm going to poke somebody's eyes out, to just absolutely silent inside. And it's a beautiful feeling.
It really is. And remember, we were talking in the beginning of the show about Pluto at Mitos and that axis point. That's like the beginning of the end, like far and great reaching change. I just highlighted this here again on the chart with that black arrow there. So Pluto, so Admetos is just very generally on its own as in the language of astrology. On one end of the axis of that, we have things, like separations and loss and endings and, things that are very difficult and things that also last a very long time. But on the other side of it, we find peace, we find solitude, we find
Right.
devotion. So like meditation is absolutely a manifestation of that planetary energy. And when it's making
Absolutely.
when it's making when it's making a midpoint with the planet Pluto, that's going to be some changes. So that's something that we all need to do out in the world is make some changes to the way that we meditate. Like that's something that on the positive note of what's happening out in the world in the transits, that is something that everybody can benefit from starting right now. Just like go and find whatever track, or just find inner peace. Like some people would say, well, I don't want to listen to like some Buddhist crap, that's just a whole bunch of BS. Well, that's fine. Very simply, meditation can just mean that I am going to lie in my bed quiet and just focus on my breath and nothing else. Anytime I get a thought,
Exactly.
anytime I have a movement, I'm just going to focus on my internal breathing, and that is all.
Yep. And that's as simple as it can be. It really is.
And that's how I
All
first
right, sir.
started
Well, it
getting
was a
into it. Yeah.
joy tonight.
It was a pleasure. Remember, guys, we will be back with you guys on Sunday morning from 9 to 11. Yeah, in the morning, Arizona time. So we will see you guys then. And it's always a busier show on our Sundays. So be sure to get here early in line so that way we can save your place and get to you before the show ends. As always, Veretta, it was a pleasure to have you, and I look forward to it. And until next time,
Blessings.
take care and good night.